The performance is outstanding. We can offer it to the consumer at an affordable price.
Hi, Dean Snell back again for another episode of Tech Talk. You send questions in and I'll answer them as best I can.
This week's question comes from Rick in Texas. What is golf ball compression, and why do your golf balls show a range on your website?
So I know we've covered compression a little bit in some of the Tech Talk side to it, but compression to me is one of the biggest overrated stories in golf. Sort of a pet peeve of mine, because back when I started in golf 35, 40 years ago, golf balls were 90 or 100 compression. Those were numbers. I've done a lot of presentations and spoke to people in big crowds and golfers and professionals. And I've always told them, I said, you know what I'll do? I said, I'll give anybody a free case of golf balls if they can tell me what compression is. And then I'll give a dozen golf balls if you can tell me just what the units are. And the room goes silent. Nobody puts their hand up. Everybody starts talking about PSI and, basically strengths and tensions and things like that. So nobody really knows. So compression is a designer's tool. We use it to kind of gauge the core, the mantle, the cover. It comes up with a quote unitless number, so there are no units on it. It's basically a static measurement where the ball sits on a flat plate and you have a handle and you pull down and the handle comes down and squeezes the ball 0.1 inches. So very, very small. The golf ball is 1.68. It squeezes at 0.1 inches. There's a spring constant, and the spring constant has a gauge that will go up to a number. So that's all it is. It really doesn't mean anything. There are other methods to measure the same way, where you can squeeze the golf ball and come up with some kind of number of different types of gauges that are used. But the main gauge that's used in golf is that, made by a company called OK Automation years ago. And you pull a handle, the thing squeezes it and gives a spring gauge with a little needle that comes up with a number. We use that to gauge lower compression golf balls. Typically would mean lower spin. Lower compression cores would mean lower driver spin. Higher stiffness, higher compression mantles with softer covers would mean higher iron spin. So we use it as a gauge, as a designer's tool to measure the layers in the golf ball as a reference to what it would give for performance. Now, there's a lot of people that think compression is feel. So if it's cold out and I play 100 compression ball, now I have to play 90. And if it's warm out and I play 90, now I have to play 100. Those days are gone. There's no compression numbers listed on boxes anymore. It's because when we went from 90 and 100 compressions down to the 70s and 60s, people would think that that's a ladies' ball and they wouldn't buy them. So we took the ratings off of the boxes or off of the golf balls and increased the performance of the ball without putting a doubt in someone's mind that they were getting something that was no good. So low compression cores typically would be softer, slower, and lower spin. We work the technology to get the speed back into the core by keeping it softer, lower compression. That gives you more distance, lower driver spin, and longer carry and roll. So compression itself, when you see on boxes or you see on websites ranges of compression, that's just the manufacturing tolerances or specs that we have. It's impossible to make the golf balls. When you're talking millions and millions and millions of golf balls that are made in batches of materials, and these batches of cores have ingredients that go in there, and trying to get every ball to be exactly the same compression with exactly the same weight is impossible. It won't happen. It'll never happen when they're made with the processes that are used today. So there's a range in there that we use as a target, and that target usually will help control the performance. So if you, as a player, have a golf ball that's an 80 compression and you have one that's an 85, there's very minimal spin and performance difference in that range. If you have one that's 80 and one that's 100, then you might see differences in that performance range. So our goal is to use compression as a target, not all about feel, because part of it's also sound is part of feel, but it's a component of feel, it's a component of spin, it's a component of speed, and a component of overall performance. And the ranges that you see on websites are basically target ranges that we try to get the golf balls to fall within when we do the manufacturing processing.
The performance is outstanding. We can offer it to the consumer at an affordable price.